Hey guys, I'm Papa Pete, and I'm here today with Coco. How you doing, Coco? To take a look at Brett Weiss's NES Omnibus Volume 1 A to L. I just recently got this in a recent pickup video. You might have seen it released a couple weeks ago. I've had it for a while now. I've had an opportunity to go through it all, do some comparison with some other NES library books that I have, and I'm looking forward to sharing what I've found with you here today. Anyway, stick around. Here we go.
Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. If you haven't grown up by the age of 50, you don't have to.
First, a disclaimer, I was a member of the Kickstarter for this book. I was very familiar with Brett's books. I have been buying them and reading them ever since I first saw this one advertised or reviewed by RGT85 about 2 or 3 years ago. The 100 Greatest Console Video Games from 1977 to 1987. I bought this. I appreciated the way it was laid out, the way it was written, and I really enjoyed reading about these games from back when I was a kid, some of the best games going. So it got me interested in some of Brett's other works, and which include the classic home video game series. He's got 72 to 84, he's got 85 to 88, and he's got 89 to 90. So these are all available on his website, brettweisswords.com. I picked them up because I've been very interested in reading them. There's lots of great information on video games in them, and Brett's very experienced writer about everything video games. So it's just it's a great way to learn and be able to reference about old video games from back when we were kids. Very recently, Brett released the 2-volume SNES Omnibus. It's quite heavy here. 2-volume set. We got Volume 1, which is A to M, and Volume 2, which is N to Z. And I got those back in the day as well. Not that I'm a huge SNES fan, but just that I had purchased Brett's other books, and there weren't very many books, sets out like that on the SNES system. Now, there were, however, some books out on the NES library. I had already purchased a couple. I purchased some what I would call very good ones. I had Jeffrey Wittenhagen's Complete NES, and I also had Pat Contry's Ultimate Nintendo Guide to the NES Library 1985 to 1995. So when Brett announced that he was going to be coming out with the NES Omnibus library on Kickstarter, I was very intrigued. Even though I already had these books, I really could never get too many books, so I thought I have to take a look. I'm very happy with what I've seen so far, so let's take a closer look at Brett's book. First of all, it's by Schiffer Publishing, and it's a very high quality book. Nice hardcover. The binding looks very good. The pages are excellent. The pages are very nice and glossy, and the layout is excellent. I don't know who did the layout, whether Brett designed. Probably Brett has some input, but they also have some professional page designers in the organization. Start off here with the title page, Schiffer Publishing to Papa Pete, Game On. Like I said, I was part of the Kickstarter, so it's always nice to have books like that. I talk to Brett once in a while, and really nice to have them personalized like that. I do enjoy that. You know, he doesn't beat around the bush too much in this one. He gets right to the point. Now, there's a couple of different, advertisements and such, which are really neat to look at. He's got his preface, but most interesting in this one is the foreword by Adam Goldberg. 1,200-word foreword by Adam Goldberg, who was the creator of the television show The Goldbergs, and also prolific television writer as well as producer of different retro video game documentaries such as Button Bashers, The New 8-Bit Heroes, Bits of Yesterday. I remember Bits of Yesterday. I haven't seen that one yet. I can't wait to see that one. I have to check those out. But other than the preface, it really dives right into the games. And one thing you're going to notice right off the get-go, as you flip that first page, the layout is excellent. It's very nicely designed, very easy to read with a really crisp, glossy picture of the box art, as well as some screenshots, and then the write-ups itself about the game. Now, it doesn't try to be a rarity guide. It doesn't try to be a price guide. It just tries to be information on each individual game. And like I said, every game has at least one page. Doesn't matter how big of a game or how small of a game. There's at least one page. Some of them have quite a few more than that. For example, games like, in this one, Castlevania has 2 pages. Contra has 2 pages. Castlevania 2 has 2 pages. And that just all sort of makes sense. Because if you also look in here, Aside from what Brett has written himself, there are these gray boxes, and they're insider insights, and they're little stories, anecdotes contributed by different people in the YouTube community, the publishing community, like authors, video game authors from around the world, and other people Brett has met throughout his career as a writer. He's been doing it now for decades, frankly, and has really met a lot of people who are more than happy to contribute to his book. Again, as you flip through the pages, you'll just see each individual game, very easy to find in alphabetical order. Just very, very nice to look through. Here's the Dragon Warrior series, which of course the first game is undoubtedly the most popular of the bunch, the most common as well. So here it has 2 pages, lots of insider insights. You flip it over, there's Dragon Warrior 2 and 3, the next 2 pages. And then Dragon Warrior 4 right at the tail end there, followed by Dragon's Lair. I mean, just look at it. It really, really looks good. Now, I'd like to point out that this doesn't cover only the licensed NES games released in North America, but also the unlicensed games. Games like Hot Slots, which, are very, very rare, but it's a very notable little asterisk in the NES library. If you have a copy of that, well, you're lucky. I don't know where it came from. But it's very interesting anyway. I'll say that. That at the very least. Other things, you got your black box games, High Glide, Akari Warriors, Ice Hockey. What a fabulous game, Ice Hockey. Look at the Insider Insights. 2 big write-ups for people for Insider Insights for Ice Hockey. Of course there is, because it's just so much fun to play. And, you can spend time. You can pick this up. You can read 3 or 4 games, put it down, put your bookmark in, go back and read more later. It's just so well laid out that it really lends itself towards reading in that manner. You won't think of yourself as wanting to read an encyclopedia, but in this case, it really is. I can see it happening. So how does it compare to the other books that are out? Well, first I'm going to compare it to Jeffrey Wittenhagen's. And Jeffrey's book is the complete library in a much smaller book. Same with the price. The price is lower because it's not as much of an encyclopedia of the NES library as it is a checklist, which also will let you gives you a little write-up about each and every game, picture of the box art, plus 1 screenshot from each one. What it's trying to do, it does very well. But Brett's book, the NES Omnibus, is trying to do more than that. This is a great book right here. I'm telling you that right now. I love this book. But this is just something different. So that brings me to the other big encyclopedia of the NES library, which is the Ultimate Nintendo Guide to the NES Library, 85 to 95 by Pat Contri. Now here's something you may not have known, but Brett Weiss actually did 60 of the games that are in Pat Contri's books. However, in the recent 3rd edition that was put out, Brett's contributions have been removed and replaced with other ones, with probably by ones done by the author himself. Don't really know why that was. If you have one of the first 2 editions of the Pat Contri book, it will include Brett's write-ups for those 60 games, but it no longer does. They were removed about the same time that Brett started putting out the SNES Omnibus. I'm not going to speculate as to exactly why they were removed. He doesn't know why they were removed, and frankly, he was never told they were going to be removed. He found that fact out later on, just by happening to notice, frankly. But anyway, that being said, he's now produced his own NES Omnibus, and where this book here, I love it in its own right. It's very colorful, it's very detailed, but the layout itself, it tries to do the whole library in this great big massive book. A little always worried about the binding in it, and frankly, it just seems busy. It's very little bit more difficult to read with the background. It still has lots of good screenshots. It has a cover of the cartridge art, not the box art. And this one does actually, Pat's book does deal with the rarity of each individual game, which I do kind of like that. But that, in comparison, the Omnibus, the NES Omnibus, is nice and crystal clear, 1 page each game or more, and it's just so much easier to read and to follow, frankly. And it just feels better in the hands. Now, the other bad part about it is, yeah, there's going to be 2 volumes to cover the entire library, but this is much more manageable. And frankly, the cost of the 2 volumes isn't a whole lot different than the 1 volume for the Contri book. So I'm glad I have both. I wouldn't give up both. I like do like both books, but as far as picking the ultimate NES library encyclopedia, I would have to say it's the NES Omnibus Volume 1, to be followed up by Volume 2 later this fall. Well, that's it for today's look at the NES Omnibus Volume 1, guys. If you're looking for the book, check out www.brettweisswords.com, or you can also look for it on Amazon.com. Anyway, that's it for Coco and I today. Thank you so much for joining me and taking a look at this wonderful book. Highly recommend you get it. And in the meantime, thanks for spending a little bit of time with us today. Don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe. And Coco and I will see you next time. Take care.
Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. If you haven't grown up by the age of...
Hey, Brett Weiss here, host of Tales from a Retro Gamer and the author of the SNES Omnibus and many other books. You have been watching Papa Pete, the Old Guy Gamer. He is so old, in fact, he's almost as old as me.
What?